I inherited 47 acres of pristine forest land in Colorado from my grandfather, a man who had always believed in working hard and maintaining what was rightfully his. The land had been paid off years ago and was left untouched. A beautiful patch of wilderness where my grandfather had spent countless hours maintaining fences, fixing roads, and even keeping a meticulous record of everything he had done to keep the property in shape. In 1971, my grandfather William Flint purchased the land for $8,200, a man from the Depression era who valued every penny and every inch of land he owned. The land was important to him, not just for its beauty but for the legacy it represented, a legacy he had hoped to pass down to me. When Grandpa died in 2019, he left the property to me with a single note tucked inside the deed. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." It was a cryptic but powerful message, and I took it seriously. Life had its way of pulling me in different directions. I had a divorce to navigate, 2 kids in college, and long work weeks that kept me tied to a desk. Still, I paid my property taxes on time every year, never missing a payment. But between everything going on in my life, I hadn't visited the land for 3 long years. In August 2022, I finally had a chance to get up to the property, and I took the opportunity to scatter my grandfather's ashes there, hoping to reconnect with the land that had meant so much to him. I turned off Highway 36 onto the old fire road that led to the property. It had always been a rough road, barely more than a trail. But when I arrived, I felt the sickening shock hit me like a punch to the gut. The forest that had once greeted me with its familiar scent of pine was gone. In its place was a pristine subdivision of 96 homes, all Mediterranean style with fake balconies and home-mandated beige paint. There were paved roads, streetlights, and families moving in. I couldn't believe my eyes. I pulled over to the side of the road to process what I was seeing. This was my land, the land my grandfather had worked so hard for. And now, it was gone, replaced by perfectly manicured lawns and freshly built homes. My stomach dropped, and I felt like I had been hit by a truck. I thought maybe I had made a mistake. Maybe I was in the wrong place. But no, I checked the GPS 3 times. The coordinates matched the deed. This was definitely my land. But how had they managed to build here without me knowing? At the gatehouse, I approached a security guard, trying to keep my composure. I explained that I owned the land, showing him the deed on my phone, but he just smirked and told me to turn around. I refused. "I own this land," I said again, but the guard wasn't having it. Just then, a Range Rover pulled up, and out stepped a woman dressed in pristine white linen, a little too pristine for the dusty construction site. She was Cassandra Whitmore, the HOA president. She took one look at me and immediately dismissed my claim. She was polite at first, but I could tell she thought I was just some unimportant guy trying to make trouble. "Sweetie, you're mistaken. This property has been abandoned for over 3 years, she said condescendingly. Our lawyer confirmed it. She said they had legally taken possession through adverse possession and that the land was now theirs. I stood there, stunned. How could this be? How could they build an entire subdivision on land that was still legally mine? Cassandra handed me a business card and told me to contact their lawyer. She said they had already made $16 million in pre-sales from the 96 homes, and construction was nearly finished. "This is a legitimate development," she said, her voice dripping with smug confidence. I tried to tell her that I had never abandoned the land, that I had paid taxes every year, but she just waved me off. "You can take this up with our attorney, Brian Keir. He'll explain why you're wrong." I didn't argue. I just got back in my truck and drove home. My mind was racing. What had just happened? I had been blindsided. I owned this property. I had the deed, the tax receipts, and the history to prove it. But here they were, building houses on it. And it seemed like they were doing it all legally, or so they thought. That night, I spread Grandpa's documents across the kitchen table, his original deed from 1971, 47 annual tax receipts, survey maps, and started making calls. I knew I had to get a lawyer, and fast. I called Brian Keir, Cassandra's attorney, and got his receptionist, who seemed way too happy to offer me a settlement. Mr. Keir is authorized to offer a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if you'll sign a quitclaim deed by Friday, she said. $15,000 for my $4.2 million in land. It didn't take me long to decide I wouldn't sign. I needed someone who could help me fight back, not just anyone, but someone who specialized in these kinds of cases. So, I reached out to Lydia Chen, a lawyer who had a reputation for taking on corporate giants and winning. She had a track record of taking down powerful developers, and she didn't flinch when I explained my situation. "You're not just fighting for your land," she said. "You're fighting fraud, and we have to expose them for what they're doing." Lydia's plan was unorthodox. "Let them finish building," she said. "Let them get all 96 homes built, and then we'll file for declaratory judgment. They'll have to prove they own the land. And if they don't, if we can prove they knew they didn't, then we can go after them for fraud." At first, I thought it sounded crazy. But then I realized it made sense. If I stopped them now, they might declare bankruptcy, tie the land up in legal battles, and it could be years before I got anything back. But if I waited, I could prove that they had knowingly built on my land, and I would have all the evidence I needed to take them down. For the next several months, I documented everything. Every visit to the site, every piece of construction, every person working there. I took time-stamped photos and videos. I knew they were getting nervous when they started sending private investigators after me and trying to intimidate me with false reports to the sheriff's office. They even filed a complaint with the local code enforcement about illegal dumping, something that was completely false. But with every move they made, I gathered more evidence. Then, one day, I got the smoking gun. An email from Preston Whitmore, Cassandra's husband, which made everything clear. He knew about my ownership. He knew their claim was fraudulent, but they had decided to build anyway, betting that I wouldn't have the resources to fight them. It was calculated, cold, and criminal, but it was exactly what I needed. Lydia went to work, and we built the case brick by brick. We filed a lawsuit, and soon enough, we were in federal court, ready to take down Whitmore Development for good. They fought hard, but Lydia had them cornered. She presented the evidence in front of the judge: emails, records, photos, every piece of the puzzle fit together. And when Preston Whitmore took the stand, he started to crack under pressure. He couldn't keep his story straight, and it was clear he was lying. The judge ruled in my favor. I had won, but the victory wasn't just about getting my land back. The court awarded me $4.2 million in damages, and even more importantly, the Whitmores were exposed for their fraud. Cassandra and Preston's company, Ridgeline Capital, was dissolved. Their personal assets, houses, cars, even Cassandra's expensive jewelry collection were sold to pay creditors. But I didn't want the money. What I wanted was justice for the 96 families who had been duped into buying these homes. I could have sold the houses and pocketed millions, but that wasn't the right thing to do. Instead, I created the Ridgeline Heights Community Trust, a nonprofit that would transfer ownership of the 96 homes to the families at the price they originally paid. No interest, no mortgages, just the amount they had already invested. It was the right thing to do. My grandfather had always believed in legacy, and leaving something behind that meant more than just money. So, I decided to leave behind a community built on fairness and justice, not greed. I kept 5 acres of land for myself, built a small cabin, and finally felt at peace. The land was mine, and more importantly, it was part of something bigger, a community that would thrive because I didn't give up. As for the Whitmores, they're done. Preston is facing criminal charges for fraud. Cassandra has been banned from real estate development in Colorado, and Ridgeline Capital is gone. The land, once stolen from me, now belonged to the people who deserved it. And every year, I'm reminded of my grandfather's note, "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." I didn't. And in the end, I turned the land into something my grandfather would be proud of. The legacy lived on, not just in the land, but in the people who now call Ridgeline Heights home.